Hey guys, this is Contract Gamer, aka Vega Fell out in the verse. I'm here with Balian. We're talking about our constellation, and we're also talking about the Contract Gamer Coalition and kind of what we're going to do as a mission here. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Balian.
Hello YouTube, I am Balian Rade, aka Black Magic. Actually a longtime gamer and subscriber and backer to Star Citizen, which is actually where the inspiration, where the contract gamers came from. Here to actually bring you some content, share some jokes and some information, and hopefully make you a little smarter about this game here, and hopefully maybe see you in the verse.
Yeah, I think Balian, we kind of got started on this. We saw the game coming out. We're longtime, Star Wars fans and played a lot of, Star Wars Galaxies and SWTOR and things like that. And then we just ended up finding out that we're sorely lacking in the space department as far as our space enjoyment in the games. And so for me, when Balian introduced me to this game, it got me really excited because I used to really love playing like Star Wars Galaxies and playing out in space there. And this is really the first, kind of space sim that is really bringing the sci-fi back into the gaming community. I think it got us both really excited for this game.
Indeed. This is really a game that actually harkens back very much to when we talk about Star Wars, we particularly talk about Star Wars Galaxies, a game that not only had a very rich space component, but also had a very rich sense of community and was very open as far as customization for characters. That's something that's kind of been lacking in the gaming community as a whole, particularly that combination. Some games like Elite Dangerous have kind of brought some things to the table. Other games that are long lasting like Eve have come pretty kind of close, but you don't really get the full encompassing experience. Star Citizen seems to be hitting those notes. I was personally introduced to it when it was very much in its infancy from another guild member on when we were playing Star Wars KOTOR, or not KOTOR, but SWTOR,
Yes.
the Old Republic, and yeah, a fellow guildmate actually turned me on to this game, and ever since I actually heard about it, I kept reading more and more and more about it. And the more I read, the more I was intrigued. The whole concept of just having a game that is crowdfunded, as well as having very high level transparency, to where you can see the game literally over the years evolve into this massive community that's largely built by other YouTubers and fans of the game who are generating content and such. So we finally said, enough's enough. We love this game. It's time we actually throw our hats into the ring and actually bring something to the table too, as well with this. So yeah, it's definitely a labor of love, as well as a passion for us here to actually see this game come to fruition and actually share that experience to those of you who may not actually know anything about the game, but may be interested as far as actually what is it about, what does it bring to the table.
Yes, that's a really good way to put it. I think for a lot of us, this ends up being the game we've been missing for the last, what, 5 to 10 years. Really, Eve's been
Yeah,
out there, but it's more of a, like people say, a spreadsheet game. It's a lot of fun, but it's the customization just isn't there as far as your person goes. You really don't feel like you're attached to the universe. At least for me, I never did. I always end up just mining all the time. So for me, this game really hits the mark as far as being able to have your own ship, being able to have your own person, be able to have your own crew, be able to really have your own guild, and really explore the verse. And so for me, I'm excited for this game.
indeed. That's really, like I said, harkens back to that sense of community for, for this game very much. That's going to be a big component of this game, is quite frankly going to be that community base right there, as well as having this massive sandbox that allows you to very much, even though you do have an actual story component to this, a big aspect of it, much like SWG, was that it was a big sandbox, so you could kind of make your own adventure. You were given the freedom to kind of forge your own path, which is again something we don't really see very often in a game publisher, and something that's severely lacking in games that have kind of come close but never really encapsulated that. But But yes, I mean, basically, you're given a massive sandbox where you can run on planets. You can explore planets. Some that are actually very, very large and sprawling metropolises to wastelands, or even just wild locales where nature is kind of just taken over, and literally play around with the big key is with your friends. A big aspect that a lot of these games is lacking is that much like Elite Dangerous or even actually Eve, is that friend component. Often you'll see one person in control of a fleet in Eve, but you never really have that experience of, okay, I'm on a ship with my friends and we're cruising around the galaxy, whether you're pirates or you're space truckers hauling cargo, or even just freelancers trying to make your way as best you can in the verse. And this is a game that allows you to basically do that.
Yes, I think for a lot of us, this really hits a gaming niche that's been missing, especially in, I would say, sci-fi MMOs, particularly. Because I mean, we've had Star Wars for a while, but as far as any other MMO that is a sci-fi MMO that involves space, we've been really hard pressed to find it, and there's been kind of an almost a reawakening, uh, if you will, of sci-fi video games coming back to a prominence, is what it feels like. It feels like there was a lull there for a bit, but now they're really coming back into it. As far as they tried with No Man's Sky, which was a big flop, and then hopefully with Star Citizen. And that's the thing with Star Citizen. There's been a lot of talk and worry about it being a potential flop, and I don't think there is. It's going to be an issue. The people working on it, it's really a labor of love, and just like other video games, they're not here to solely just make the profit. They're here to really provide the best game they can. And for me, it seems like they're very genuine in what they're doing and what the goal is. And it being crowdsourced. They don't have to worry about Sony or EA or any of these other companies, coming in and saying, well, the bottom line is you need to cut half the game out, which is what happened with No Man's Sky. Kind of Sony over promoted it, and then they ended up having to cut a bunch of things out of the game that they wanted to get in because of the price point. And they've already met and exceeded their price point. How many fold was it, Alien?
Actually, last time I looked, we were at about 118 million, with over 1 million backers. So, there's obviously a rich amount of people who are contributing to this game and are continuing to contributing to the development of this game. I think Chris Roberts himself kind of said it best, and it's really even actually just hallmarked by his actions. He's willing to go ahead and actually take a small time hit to his reputation in terms of a delay to give you a far more polished gaming experience, which is something that we don't really see very often in gaming publishers as a whole. A lot of times, just like Vega said, we see games rushed out to development in order to recoup the cost of actually making them and developing them and marketing them. Whereas Star Citizen, we've seen an evolution of sorts from a very basic type of, very basic but still solid flight simulator to now we have the persistent universe, which is basically the baby steps towards the game itself, kind of evolve over these years. And each step has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger with that level of transparency still there for the community as a whole. And that's something to really take into mind when you're thinking about this. Keep in mind there's a considerable amount of publishers who typically hide just how developed the game sometimes is. It's very closed off to a very small amount of people, and typically hidden underneath an NDR. Now, I'm not saying that this game doesn't do that to an extent, but the level of transparency here is really very, very high as far as what we see. We see both the good and the bad of the development cycle, and the developers very much listen to the input of the backers to make this as rich a gaming experience as possible. So, I mean, yes, in developments, even if AAA games average sometimes 3 to 5 years in most cases, and we're getting that level of fidelity in an MMO, which is pretty much unheard of.
Oh, definitely. I think it goes to really the proof is in the pudding when it comes down to these sort of things, where with that level of transparency, and that level of communication between not only the alpha testers but people on the forums, um, and development staff. I think that level of communication really bolsters this community we have. I mean, the game's not even technically out yet, and there's already this vibrant community in the game. And people are writing lore. They've been writing it for a while now. People, I mean, have these huge pre-launch guilds that already play together. I mean, we were on the server the other week and ended up getting attacked by a guild. But I mean, there was probably 30 or 40 of them all together running. So there's already these communities and these bubbles happening, and it's still an alpha. I would technically call it a pre-alpha.
And we're not even talking about a small group. We're talking literally that we have guilds that are in excess of over 1,000 people, and we have close to 1,000 of those guilds floating around. Floating around. If you ever get a chance to actually go onto the RSI website and just search guilds for anything, and you'll see the multitude of guilds that are actually available, and they offer everything from RP to hardcore gaming. So it's a very diverse community too, which is very in keeping with this game that offers, again, a plethora of different options. It offers, if you want to your play style, if you want to play more of an industrial type, i.e. you want to be a prospector or a freelancer where you're hauling cargo, or even a pirate or a bounty hunter, this game really does have things to offer. And it even actually goes a step further by offering a first-person shooter mechanic. What's probably the best point about all that is that it's all working in tandem. So regardless of what your desired play style is or how you want to do it, there's really a fit for everybody. There's not very many games, I don't think at all, that really can offer that level of that level of options for any gamer, really, where you can walk into and you can find just something to do. If you don't like flying, then I'm sure if you join a guild, you can actually get access to people who love to fly. For first-person shooter players, for players who like to play more and builds that sense of community even within the game after the game launches. And that's partially what inspired us to actually form the Contractor Coalition, to go ahead and facilitate that and actually bring that experience as well to throw in again our hats into the Star Citizen ring.
Oh, definitely. And I think, as a good starting point, we might have ran a little long on this video, guys, but this is our first video. We're kind of talking about the game a little bit. We're super excited about it, and I think we're going to pull this one to a close and then continue on to some other things. So I'd like to thank you guys for your time. This is Vega Fell, aka the Contract Gamer, and I hope to see you guys in the verse.
Yes, YouTubers, catch you on the verse.